Go stream now. Guys, what's going on, guys? Friday came along. I was having like a panic attack. It was like 30 minutes before Collectors Club,
Wow.
and I got kicked out of StreamYard.
Oh
Tried to
yeah.
tried to call Zach, not answering. Called again, not answering. I'm like, what are we gonna do? Text Dean. Dean, give me Zach's number. No answer. It was a disaster.
I
Well,
sent you his number.
that's what I'm saying. You sent me his number, but then I tried to call him. Nothing.
I thought you were saying I didn't answer you. I was like,
Then
yes,
Zach's
I
getting
did.
pissed. He's like, I can't answer the phone, buddy.
Wow, like that.
I know.
Savagery.
I'm watching Secrets of the Whale on Disney Plus. Sigourney
Something
Weaver,
you
the
could
soothing.
pause.
Well, it's date night.
You were at home?
I don't
Zach
often
never leaves his
have.
house.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I think you and I both leave the house about the same, to be honest. But I don't often have alone time with Victoria. I was like, let's put on a movie. We'll get some popcorn going. I was like, I promise nothing CW tonight. Like that's a rare event. And I got fucking John texting me all evening, all
Get me
kinds of
back
things.
in. I was like, no. Can I ask you
Like, I
something?
need you to figure it out.
What was the whale's secret?
Well, it's like
Chlamydia.
It was a sperm whale.
Yeah, actually, actually, it was a sperm whale. It's not the only thing that involves sperm that night.
Wow.
Let's go.
Secret whale.
How dare you?
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe.
Hello there. We are tonight's entertainment.
We would be honored if you would join us.
He's got a billion toys.
You brought in the doll collection.
These are not dolls, Jim. These are commodities. Same as gold or oil.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now listening to the Collecting Weekly podcast.
This is the true form of floor gang right here. Very nice. YouTube.com/collecting weekly. Thank you very much. That's very cool. Big.
Hey guys, my name is Zach.
I'm Dean.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Marco.
And I'm Ben.
Welcome to this week's episode of Collecting Weekly. It's a weekly podcast where my friends and I talk about the things that matter the most to us this week in collecting.
That's right. We want to thank our friends over at 1/6 Corner for sponsoring this week's episode of Collecting Weekly. Guys, don't forget to use code CW10. That's capital C, capital W, 10 during our live recording for 10% off all in-stock items over at 16corner.com.
We have a great show planned for you guys tonight. We got a bunch of angels in the chat. We got Toy Mafia, Lane Kramer, Tukatri, Carlito, Vintage Rebellion, Punisher XS, The Ben Thomas Show, Nicolio, Comics, Equan, Lane Kramer, Who is Mike Jones, here for the training discussion. What a film. We also have David Jones, Marco on Clean Shaven, Smooth as a Baby's Bottom, Big O Fern, a.k.a. Chupa. We also have Eddie Money Mendez, Brenton Palmer, and Ninja Squirrel. Lots to talk about tonight, but Dean, before we get into that, we have a very special segment that we start off all the best shows.
Yeah, you guys ready?
Yes.
It's new this week.
Yeah. What'd you get new this week? I got jack shit. What about you guys?
For once, wow.
That's my favorite thing to get. Yeah, I picked up these two covers, but I've been waiting a while. They got delayed. 2 comic book covers here from the 89 retail, the story, this miniseries. It's 1 of 6 issues. This is number 5 that came out. The beautiful Catwoman coming through the window, kind of like that homage to the movie. And on the right is the same book, different variant by Adam Hughes, the cover art. So glad to finally pick these up.
So does this series
Those
pick
are
up
nice.
after the Batman Returns? Is it kind of just a continuation of that story?
No, this is from 89. I don't want to necessarily say it's a retell, but like we never got to see what's his name?
Harvey or Two-Face, right?
We never got to see Two-Face. So in this story, you actually get to see what's his face, the actual character's name, Harvey Dent. But what's the actor's name?
Lando,
Calrissian.
shoot.
It's not Lando Calrissian.
It's not.
Whatever. He slipped my mind. You actually get to see him as Two-Face in the book.
Wow, slipped my mind too.
So yeah, these are. I don't know. It's nostalgic for me because I love the '89 series.
Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams. That is it. But yeah, I haven't read these. Are you kidding me? They go nice in the sleeve.
Would this be a reissue or a remake of the comic, John?
What do you mean a reissue or remake?
The 89, because they've already done an 89 Batman comic.
Yeah, but it was like a
2.0 maybe?
A revisit, maybe.
A revisit. That's a new one. I'm taking that one.
Yeah, because the original one was basically just the movie.
The movie.
Right? Yeah, it was like the full movie in one book.
So
this is different.
Oh, it's totally different.
I gotta say, DC has some of the most banger comic
covers.
Art. Like, covers specifically. Just, I've only picked up a few, but damn, there's some fucking crispy ass books out there for DC.
No love for DC though. Everyone is Marvel.
No, I would get these. These are beautiful.
Yeah,
100%.
Freaking the one, the cover A on the one on the left sold out in 10 minutes at my shop.
Wow.
So I don't know what's going on.
The colors, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Speaking about reissues.
Yeah, no, so this is a revisit, I would classify it as, but yeah, so I did pick up the Marty McFly. So this is a figure that I was kind of, I don't have any one-offs like this, and so this is the first and probably opening the floodgates here, but it's a beautiful figure, honestly. All the accessories, the head sculpt is not their best ever. It's a bit soft, and I know some folks are saying the original might be better than this one, but yeah, really, really happy with it. Really beautiful, and definitely the start of a whole Back to the Future collection with Doc and with the DeLorean. So I want some part 2 figures as well. I know, John, sorry to bring up revisits, but those, yeah, those ones are just so beautiful. I hope that they, reissue those in the near future.
Oh, wow.
I like bad guys. I'm hoping for a Biff still, honestly.
Oh yeah, with the which one would you want? Would you want a classic Biff or like from Back to the Future Part 2?
No, he looks weird in Back to the Future 2. He's got too much facial prosthetic thing going on. It just doesn't look right. It's like the uncanny valley. I like that original version. He's big, he's beefy, he's a little scary. 100%.
Heck yeah, I'd get that one for sure.
Yeah, so I got some pretty cool covers just at the market the other day. Shauna convinced me to go for an afternoon. Do some walking around and stuff. And one of the best parts about the market is you never know kind of what you're going to find, right? And so I've been looking for different Wolverine covers just for a little bit of art with a future Wolverine figure that I end up picking up. So again, you guys can see the picture on the screen, but just to prove that it is in hand, it's very nice, very nice. And then the one with the Wolverine fighting, Ghost Rider, I thought that was a cool grab. It just got my attention, and I'm like, I need to see who would win between Wolverine and Ghost Rider. So I haven't read it yet. I will update you guys when I get the chance. But it looks pretty cool. Got to be careful of the spine though. I don't need Danny coming after me. So
fucking Danny shot me in the back yesterday and blamed me somehow. I noticed you call it a market. You call it a flea market here. Is it classier than what we have in Texas? There's no flea there.
It's 100%
in Texas versus. Come on.
Jesus Christ.
It's much classier than Texas.
Wow. I got to see some of this market footage.
Bring it down to the Canadian market.
Yeah, there you go. Congrats on the pickup. I had last week mentioned the Bag End Lego Mock set. So this is where I was at last night. I actually finished a little bit more today. I'm hoping to finish it tomorrow at the latest. I got to go pick up some parts. I used the parts list on one website, but I guess it wasn't the full parts list, and it was missing some of like the smaller pieces. So I got to replace an order for like a few pieces that I missed out. It's like kind of not critical stuff. Like I'm short one turkey and a few carrots, like just kind of random food stuff. But it's a huge set. It's probably maybe 5 times larger than the footprint of the original set. And I was able to incorporate a few pieces of my original set into this one to kind of keep the legacy going. It's definitely a cool build, and it's really fun because once you get past like the first maybe like 50 or 60 steps, which is like building the foundation, like kind of the boring stuff, you kind of get into building the rooms and building little mini builds, and it really goes by pretty quickly. So definitely really happy with how it's going, and I'm hopefully gonna shoot a video of it for the channel. It just depends. But yeah, I didn't really get too many things new this week, so I just wanted to give you guys an update on this one.
Do you remember how many pieces you said it was, Zach? I forget how many you said.
This one, I think it's 2,833,
Damn.
something like
Wow,
that.
that's no joke.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, that's not like a crazy amount of pieces because a lot of them are, like there's probably like 200 pieces just of like, food and flowers. Mm-hmm. Maybe 300 flower pieces. So it's kind of an inflated part count because each flower is 4 pieces. But I mean, really, there's a lot of big pieces like the grass, like they're big, 2 by 4 by 2 pieces and lots of blocks on the bottom. But it is kind of weird because like when Lego gives you instructions, they will actually go through and like really make sure it's easy to understand. But for example, like when you're building some of the rooms, all the steps are happening on the inside of the build, but the camera angle for the instructions are from the outside of the room. So you kind of have to like figure it out with other parts of the instructions, which was super annoying. But this guy makes a ton of sets and he's pretty highly recommended. So, and it's just something that I've noticed, like even with some of the other mocks I've done, they all have that same problem. I think it's just the program that generates the instructions. It just does it like the way that uses the least amount of renders of each step. And so that's why it kind of has a lot of stuff from the outside, but everything's going together great. I actually bought 2 different kind of LEDs to try to light it from the inside. One, I don't think it's gonna work. It was like those little string LED lights where there's like it's like a copper wire with a bunch of little strips LEDs in there. I don't think that's gonna work. But I bought a warm white set that's similar to the one I use on my cabinets, and I think it should work. I just got to figure that out. And worst case, like there's more expensive options like Light My Brick, where you actually get like a Lego brick with a wire attached into it that actually lights up and you can plug it into the wall. But those are pretty expensive, and I'm hoping I don't have to go that route. But yeah, this is a super fun build, and I'm super stoked to get it finished. I think all I have to do right now is finish the roof portion with the tree, and my parts on the table are like pretty limited, so I think it's gonna go by pretty quickly. So
just quick question too. You were saying, just for other Lego collectors out there thinking about doing these, I know you said the last time you did one like this, you did it by color, but then this time you were thinking about doing it more by size of piece. Is that what you still ended up doing, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the first time I did a build like this, it was about 3,000 pieces. It was the Milano, and I don't necessarily regret doing this because it saved me a tiny bit of time. But what I did was whenever I got a package, usually they come with a printout of what you ordered. So I would go with the pin and say, okay, I ordered 5 of this piece, find the piece, check it off. 10 of this piece, count, and that took like 3 or 4 hours to go through all the pieces, like as I got each order in total. But I knew once I sat down and started building that, like, no matter what, as long as nothing's removed from this table, I have everything I need right here. And with this set, I didn't do that because I was like, if I could save 4 or 5 hours, like off the rip, I'm a little bit further ahead. And what I ended up doing was, for example, if you look at these little masonry pieces, the tan ones that make up the facade at the front, there's probably about 50 of those. But when you buy them, they come in a bag of 50, like from the seller. They'll put them all in one bag. So I just kept those in their bag, and then like other bricks, like the little angled pieces for the arches, I had like 30 of those, and those were all in a bag. So I just kind of put all the bags with their color together. So whenever I needed like a block, which is like, like we think of a Lego, it's like a block, I would just go to my box of blocks, and they would all be there. And that made, like, even though the table looked really disorganized because all colors and everything is together, like, I was just flying through the build.
100%. That's awesome.
Whereas when you sort by color, yes, you know exactly what part of the table that's on, but in that one color, you might have blocks and plates and tiles and studs, and it's very difficult to go through. But, like, once I kind of memorized the layout of my table, like, it, I was just flying through it. So I definitely recommend keeping all the similar pieces together and not sorting my color. It saved me a ton of time. Like, I was just much faster doing it that way. So that's a great question. So yeah, if you're doing this, definitely don't do what I did. And I would say, though, I would double check the parts list with the master list, and if there's anything obvious missing, because I had to make one trip to Bricks and Minifigs this week to get like one stupid part that I didn't have. I had a bunch of fake Lego in that part, but I was like, I can't put fake Lego in my like masterpiece of a set. And then there's a bunch of bottles and stuff that I was missing from the master instruction set. So I'll be placing an order either through Bricks and Minifigs or Bricklink for the few pieces that I need. So, but yeah, hopefully I'll do a video on the channel once I have everything the way I want it. But it's probably the greatest thing I've ever built with Lego. It's so fucking awesome.
We should 100% send out a Lego turkey to everybody on Thanksgiving.
Hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Canadian Thanksgiving, though.
There you go.
That's right.
I'm excited because there's, like, with my other bag end set, I never got to do it, but like changing some of the leaves out to white for like Christmas, or like adding pumpkins in the front for Halloween. Like, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what I can do. So I'm definitely stoked, and I think that's enough about that. Hot Toys this past week dropped their Moon Knight figure 285, releasing July to December 2023. I think it looks really solid. I know we were concerned about the way the arms were going to work, but I don't think our concerns held water, because it does look like it is actually a one-piece suit. It's just that chest piece kind of makes it look like it is like a Hasbro type action figure. A lot of people were kind of concerned when the secret base photos came out that the boots are a much different color. They're like a tan color, whereas the rest of the suit is like a very light gray or a weathered white. I don't know that we've seen enough of this costume in the show yet to really know if that's accurate, but I mean, Hot Toys has some pretty intense references, I would imagine, to the actual costumes. So if they're going at such a bold color for the boots, I'm almost certain that's actually just what it is. But yeah, this looks really cool. It does come with a really sweet base where like there's a crescent moon that kind of you can display behind Moon Knight. I think the cape looks really good, and $285, a bit pricey with no portrait, but I think Dean mentioned it last week. It's like, we don't know if he's ever going to be like in this costume with the Oscar Isaac face, so it's like we don't know if it needs a portrait or if I might get one later. But yeah, this looks pretty good. I think 285 is maybe just a touch expensive, but I think it's still too early for me personally, not as a huge Moon Knight fan, to be like, I want to get it right now. I think I really have to see how the rest of the episodes turn out.
Zach, you already bought a fucking graded Moon Knight comic. Don't you dare. Anyway.
Yeah, that's $40, not $285 plus tax and shipping.
I'm just saying.
Is it 9.8?
How dare you? Read one Punchline book and spent like $1,000, so don't be coming to me.
Yeah, but I'm also not, lying to myself. Yeah, it's cool. It's a great figure. I'm really happy to see that the arms are indeed not just like attached. That chest plate kind of made the initial photos look funny. But now that we get actual shots, it makes more sense. I think 285 is real high. I think you're paying for that fucking crescent moon that no one's gonna fucking use. I think that's a stupid thing to add to the collection.
Why would they do that? Like, give me a head sculpt instead. I don't want the moon.
But you know what? For like people who like to do prop things, that could be cool to put in
figure photography.
Yeah, your prop replica display. That's that kind of moon-sized crescent that he throws. So I mean, that's like the only redeeming factor for that thing, right? But who knows how it even attaches to the base? The back could be completely ugly. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it would be pretty cool, but yeah, for me, that's not enough figure for that price. I think you're just paying for the big fucking base and the moon. His accessories are little tiny crescent moons and some hands. Like $285, then shipping and tax. You're looking at what, $320, $330? No.
Probably.
Not for me. I'm kind of with Zach. I don't like the character enough to even justify that. I think even if I really like the show, I probably won't get it. It looks cool. Not for me.
I don't know. This is classic Loki was what, $275? We got 2 portraits, all those accessories. The price point's not there. That we can establish. In regards to the Crescent Moon, I think that's the selling feature of this figure, to be honest. I think what a lot of collectors, we first got the teasers and we're like, oh, is this real? Da 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 da. And then when they saw the Crescent Moon base, everyone's like, oh wow, that's a cool addition. So yeah, that's cool. The price point's not there for sure. In regards to another portrait, I don't think we see him. I don't know if we're going to see him, the portrait, the non-masked portrait in the show on this body. So I think the only way they could have done it is almost like a Hush style, where it's like, where he's transforming. That's the only way they could have done it. They played the safe route. What are you gonna do? But this is not for me. I can't fathom paying $285 for what you're getting in the box with this one. And also the shoulders here, I don't like the way it looks jointed from some angles. The way you look at it, it looks like the shoulder. Yeah, there was one photo where it looks like a figure, like what those figures, the smaller figures. You got smaller scale figures where it looks like a jointed ball there. Yeah, I'm not. It's a release. It's a representation, but I'm not a fan of it at all.
Yeah, to me, this is a fucking snoozer of a release, to be honest with you. And maybe because the outfit is all white, but nothing about this gets me excited. And so I think that's why I was like pushing so hard to like, we had to have a head sculpt, even if it's the way that John described where it's like transforming, just to have like a little bit of, color difference here, because obviously he's got little details. But this is one that you definitely would have to see in hand to know like how it came out, because I'm just not convinced. And I'm enjoying the show. This one, I haven't rolled out adding, but it just like puts me to sleep looking at it. It's just not exciting at all. And the moon accessory, like, again, why? Like, give me something that I can use. Give me like actual accessories that can go with the figure. It's just an odd choice and just too much for the cost. But Ben, I know you might have some different thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so that's actually a hotter take from you than I expected. Not gonna lie, but I've really enjoyed the show so far. I think I'll probably wait until once the show is done to actually buy the figure, just to see how it connects with me. I think like you hit the nail on the head with all the white cowl, the white dress, the garbs. There's so much white in the figure. When I saw some of the secret base photos that were posted, and we got to see that he has lit eyes as opposed to even just painted white eyes, I felt a little disappointed by that. I don't tend to put batteries in my figures, and so I'm a little bit worried that once he's on my shelf, he's just kind of look dead and not very lifelike. So I was a little bummed by that. Deadpool did that really, really well with the white painted eyes, and he looks alive on the shelf. And so I think this guy could have done so. I think the other part of it is, it's a hope and a dream. It's not going to happen at this point. But if they'd been able to give us this figure at a slightly lower price point without the moon, and then maybe given an extra weapon accessory or the moon base or whatever as a deluxe offering for this figure, for the folks who do want more of a diorama display, I think that would have been really cool. But to kind of force it on us, I agree, it's probably just going to sit in my maintenance room once I pick up this figure. So I love it, but I'm not ready to pull the trigger on it yet. Are we allowed to talk spoilers at all, Zach, on Moon Knight?
Maybe hold off just for a bit.
Okay.
I don't think the moon really adds that much to the price. Like, this would have been, $270, $275, if it didn't come with the moon. So,
but it feels like they're like, shit, we got to put something in here. Like, just give them the
you're
moon.
not wrong.
I would have liked a
it's
Razor
also,
phone and a pair of keys, to be honest.
Yeah, but then you're adding accessories that the character in this outfit may not ever interact with. You're not wrong, 100%. But I think get the fuck out. I'm just kidding. I think what does it have? 10 hands? Like, that's. I don't usually count the hands, but it seems like quite a bit. And you get some really nice gesturing hands to hold the little crescents.
I like what Eddie's saying. The moon should have lit up. That would have been cool.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I just don't think, when they add a backdrop that's cardboard. Like this looks a little bit more premium, and I really don't feel like this contributes, at all to the overall price point. Like I think it was going to be that price regardless. I still think it's too early for us to know if if there's any more accessories he could come with. I don't know if it's too early that maybe by the end of the 6th episode, Hot Toys is going to be like, oh, by the way, he interacted with this thing. Here's an extra thing. Price point stays the same. Just from what we've seen thus far, I think it would have been cool to include, just from, 2 episodes in so far, one of the in the first episode he interacted with some things. Could have maybe made like a diorama base with some rubble there, or one of the scarab. That's a good idea.
Give me a broken sink at the least.
Yeah, a minimum, right? Or the jackal that he was with. But I mean, I don't know that they would go the full Monty and do all that. But it's also like we haven't seen him with a big ass crescent behind him either. So it's like, this is clearly just a thing.
Yeah, I feel like this is gonna get the Mando treatment, where this is gonna release, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, here's the 2.0 with all the shit that he should have came with," 100%. And it's gonna fuck over all the collectors who jumped on this.
Yeah, that's a good point, Dean.
That might not happen, but it's a pretty, Star Wars is a huge franchise, and Marvel's right up there. So I could see that happening, but maybe we go with the rest of the show and he really just doesn't interact with a whole lot of shit, and he really only uses the crescent moons. Like, who knows? Like, it just remains to be seen at this point.
To that point also, like, this isn't the only look we've seen for Moon Knight in costume. So it's like, this might not even be, I imagine it is, but I mean, there's a chance that this isn't the main, I guess, suit. I don't know what you really call it, but the main look for Moon Knight in the series, because we've seen one other one, and it has probably a little bit more screen time. So it's way too early to tell. I think there's only like 6 episodes in the season, so I mean, we're about halfway done. But
yeah, it could be like Beskar Mando. Like he has one
where the
look,
regular Mando's in the
and then
first
upgrades his
yeah.
It's like this could be the introductory suit, and
You're
then
not wrong.
later
The Venom.
maybe it's like all gold, or maybe
exactly.
there's more black to it or something. Like, who knows?
I think the major problem is going to be the price point. If we start paying these prices for what they're giving us, we're not getting portrait, we're not getting enough accessories. If we're starting to pay $285 for this, we're setting a new base level for them. Right?
I think
they'll justify it. They'll say, well, if these guys are paying this amount, we put the Moon Knight at $285 to get to that new level. If these guys are paying it, then they're going to pay this for this.
You're right. They're testing us with this and with the Eternals release recently. Right? Those are both
that's what
bones.
Zach and I said a long time ago with the Iron Mans. When they were getting really high, it's like, stop buying these fucking things, because you're just proving that you'll buy anything.
I mean, if you're Hot Toys, though, and you saw people falling over themselves to spend $1,000 on 2 figures, which obviously are at a different quality level, but, even the base was $350, like, you got to be looking at that thinking, like, man, $285, like, we could be charging quite a bit more if it's a decent figure. Soul Nightmare says it possible this was dropped too early and that they'll pull a Ray and add more accessories or a surprise sculpt later like Mysterio. That could be a thing. I remember with Mysterio, that was never the black box with the blurred out photo. They kind of just added that right at the end.
So I think with Mysterio, though, initially they had like a blurred image and then they took it down and there was nothing, right? So I think that was the order of things. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I recall.
I thought that was right too, Marco. And I mean, they did that with Venom though, right? Where they came out with the Venom 2.0 release, which is basically the same figure with a different tentacle and an Eddie Brock head sculpt.
No, they goaded you into buying
And
Carnage,
it worked.
And then they came out with a 2.0.
That was so dirty.
You want the Eddie Brock? You gotta buy Carnage.
That was like level. Carnage. That was like the 3rd worst freak out of John from last year.
Yeah, but people still support it. Whatever.
Hot Toys. It's kind of interesting. Ever since Queen's really been hitting the Facebook, I feel like Hot Toys is kind of on their toes, and even Asmus, because Asmus also posted an update, which we'll talk about shortly, but they posted, it's been a while since the last time we shared news on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings collection, and we can't wait to present the updated head sculpt of the Wenwu collectible figure. taking her crafting skills to the next level. The enhanced head sculpt displaying impressive accuracy and fine features beautifully illustrates a high standard of workmanship. Have a quick look at it. I thought the first Wenwu portrait was incredible, so the fact that out of nowhere they're like, here's a better one. I mean, competition, man. You love to see it.
Is it even better, though? I feel like it's not. Maybe it's just the photos don't show off as well as the initial one. But yeah, I remember, I think we used the word shrink ray, which we rarely use.
Yeah, it was, I mean, that was a damn fine portrait. So
amazing.
The fact that, I don't know, I kind of like it. I feel like they're really
You're
trying
not wrong.
now.
We need to see the pattern, though, right? It's a small sample size, but like if they come out in a few weeks with like, oh, here's updated Doc Ock, now we're talking. All right, that's one that we complained about. Now you're giving us something. This, do you think maybe it's because of the region, right? Like this is a really famous actor in the region, so they want to promote it more often, or
could be. Yeah, that makes sense. It could be. The attraction to the character could be more favorable in that specific region. Look, I thought the first portrait they did was fine. Yeah, it's good. They're taking initiative and kind of tweaking things, but I think they need to listen a little bit more to some other advices that we're giving them and tackle that before. Look, it's not a bad thing that they're doing it, but was it necessary?
I think I saw a shared side-by-side photo. I think it was Bob Dylan that actually had put it out, and the first picture when compared to this one, the figure looks almost like a younger version of this character. And part of me wonders if Hot Toys, you know, when they originally sculpted the figure or got the prototype ready, they went off of kind of the scene where he is a younger man in the garden with his wife, and he looks a little more youthful in that footage. And then, you know, you get this option, which is really more what the character looks like in the rest of the movie. And I mean, we've all seen it with so many figures, you know, Dooku and some of these aged figures where age lines look good on Hot Toys figures. I mean, the more they age them, the more they give them some lines and some character, the more they come to life. And honestly, since they took away some of the soft features from that youthfulness of that first sculpt, I think it looks amazing. So comparatively, I think they did a great job. I think it was something that I think probably overseas was asking for. So,
and I will say I'm with Zach though. I have seen that pattern where it's like, okay, Hot Toys seems to be communicating more, and so if they keep it up and they're pushed to do so, especially on things that people have complained about, right? I don't know that I've seen that necessarily, right? Again, it's been a short amount of time, but if we see them being more responsive, then that's a really positive sign, and I'd love to see more of it.
Yeah, to that point, it's like, I mean, they put out 2 things like last year, maybe 3. I think we've gotten like that many this month. So, I mean, wow. Incredibly small sample size, but fuck, man, like this is more communication than I think we've ever gotten. This is the look there, and I mean, I think it looks fucking awesome. I haven't seen the movie. I don't particularly care to see it, but
bro, you gotta watch Shang-Chi.
It looks pretty fucking good. I got too much Merlin to watch, bro.
A banger, bro. I was so surprised by that movie. I was like, damn, this movie's dope.
Got too much Merlin to watch. This is the
How are you not done with Merlin?
It's kind of a meme at this point. Toys Era The Patriot, Q3 2022. This comes in at $190. This looks so bad. Like, to me, this is so beneath Toys Era's level of workmanship. Like, I honestly have nothing good to say about this. The trousers just look absolutely awful. The portrait looks like just not the same person. The boot sleeves just don't even really look like they fit the boot. I feel like Toys Era just makes way better shit than this. This feels like Toys Era from like 2018, not 2022 Toys Era. This is terrible. And, you know, $190, obviously not the most expensive figure ever made, but I mean, come on, look at that portrait. That's Lando Norris. If you watch Formula One, that's Lando Norris.
Dude, does anybody even give a shit about this guy? Like,
I don't think so.
He's such a garbage character.
Doesn't that look like Letty?
And that's coming
just a tad.
Wait, say it again.
Doesn't that look like Letty just a tad? No. Okay.
Oh wow.
No. Letty is handsome. How dare you?
Well, it's not a bad portrait.
But Dean, on the point of it, if anyone cares about him, no. But he could be important moving forward, right? Like he might get his own shine in the future, but I don't give a shit right now.
Yeah, even from someone coming like I really don't like Steve Rogers, Captain America in the MCU. Ever since
Of
Civil
course you
War,
don't. Of course you
I
don't.
fucking hated him. My favorite part of Infinity War is when Thanos just fucking smacks the shit out of Steve. He goes down like a sack of potatoes. That
Did
was
you
my
cheer
favorite
in the
part.
theater when that happened, or what?
Yes, dude. I was like, fuck yeah. But yeah, it does kind of look like that guy.
What?
But yeah, it's not like I'm like, oh, this guy's trying to take Steve's spot. I hate him. It's like, no, I don't like this guy anyway. He's not an interesting character. They kind of try and make you sympathize with him, but that's not what we're talking about. Anyway, the suit doesn't look bad. The proportions look real funny. Zach, you had a picture of him when he's like throwing the shield or something. Like, look at his forearm, bro. Like that looks way
That looks
too
awful,
long.
bro.
Like maybe the gloves are too long, so it makes his arm look real goofy. Yeah, I think like the suit is kind of the only thing I'm liking here. But yeah, it's like all together not solid. Like it's just not good.
The masked portrait's not bad. The helmeted portrait's not bad. I'll give him that. The rest, no thank you. Absolutely not. What's the price point on this thing again? This is 190. Yeah, you're getting a shield. You're getting 2 portraits. It's not the worst, but no, it's... I wouldn't be able to go for this at all. I'm kind of with Dean. I'm not a big Captain America fan.
See,
It's
I think
like
I'm
an-
actually...
Oh, go ahead, Ben. You're good.
I was going to say, I think I'm actually in the minority on this one, where I actually think I like the head sculpt the best of the whole figure. And I think it's only because Wyatt Russell, the actor who plays this character, Kurt Russell's son, you know, he's a weird looking dude. Like, he's got a really kind of funky face. And so does that portrait. And so I think it kind of looks like him. If you told me that was a Marvel Legends character, I would think that that was one of the best portraits they've ever done in terms of likeness. It's just sad that it's a 1/6 scale because it's a little more blown up. And I think in comparison to the other quality that we all have on our shelves behind us, you'd notice the difference. But I think it does look like Wyatt Russell. I will give it that. So a little bit of a weird face.
Yeah, I don't
To me,
have
it's-
much. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Oh, to me, it's just like a worse version of a terrible character. Like I just have zero desire to have.
What's going
any
on,
of
Ark?
this.
Thanks for tuning in,
Marco,
brother.
sorry about that.
No, that all good. I have nothing really positive to say about this. Yeah, everything about this just doesn't look great. If the price was, if it was like $120, like, oh, okay, if you wanted to complete your Winter Soldier lineup, but yeah, for 190, it's just not even coming close to the quality you'd want for that price. So yeah, this is an easy pass.
Yeah. Let's move on to something kind of interesting. I don't particularly love it. So, Queen Studios, I think it was on Saturday morning, posted this photo here on the left. And they said that, they were excited to share their new prototype of the upcoming Gandalf figure. Now, first and foremost, immediately I recognize this photo. Like, I was half awake with like a billion Facebook messages that this was not a figure. And I was like, maybe it's just that good, right? So I looked up the Hobbit promo photo and I was like, okay, like that's pretty close. And I went on over and layered them on top of each other, and it's exact. Like, my layering job was pretty poor, but it's like, I don't think there's any way that this was the figure. Now, what they posted on Facebook was, we're proud to share with you an early look at our much anticipated 1/6 scale Gandalf, the gray collectible 6 scale figure from NR. Now, apparently a lot of people thought this wasn't a big deal. And there was about maybe 20% that was really annoyed by it. A lot of people commenting about it. But a lot of people are saying, well, we're going to see the figure in a few days anyways. But to me, it's like, why are you hiding a photo of a well-known photo of Ian McKellen Like, why even Photoshop it if you're just going to show something that's not your figure, right? And Badfish says more Queen Studios smoke and mirrors, and I was kind of disappointed by it. A lot of people said it wasn't a big deal, but at any rate, this was the Hobbit look. So the staff is different, the outfit's a bit different. However, when they showed during their YouTube presentation, this was what they showed us, which looks fantastic. Now, I have no doubt that this figure is going to be amazing. I think I was just at that point pretty annoyed that they had the audacity to Photoshop a well-known promotional photo and kind of claim that it was their figure. But looking at this, this staff is the should be the opening staff of the first film, which technically is the second staff of the Hobbit trilogies. So I don't know if they're just, they just used a promotional photo from the Hobbit and this has nothing to do with what they're releasing. But the portrait looks really, really solid. I did message our friend John that works at Queen Studios and told him the sword was on the wrong side of the body. I'm 99% sure they just have to, rotate the belt, in John's words, 360 degrees to get it to the other side of the body. But I didn't want it.
Question here, though. These are all just steals from the movie, right? They're not actually teasing the figures. I'm still a bit confused on this.
Now, this I'm confused about because I understood this to be the figure, unless I'm an idiot.
No. I think that there's some confusion, but I think that
everyone was saying
steals.
this was the figure.
Yeah, this isn't.
And I heard
this
other
isn't
people
the figure.
saying that too.
This isn't the figure.
And so, to your point on why they were teasing using a photo, I don't think they're ready to share anything.
Yeah.
If it's actually the fact that they don't have any of the figures to show. Well, let's show the other ones after you finish your point. But I'm still confused.
Well, the reason why, this looks like Ian McKellen. Obviously that's what you want it to look like. It's Gandalf, but the other ones look a little bit off, and that's why I think they're figures. Now, let me get this comment here. Badfish says it could be a mirror image, but it's not, because in Lord of the Rings, the satchel is always on his right side. So if it's a mirror image, the satchel would be on the left. So I don't think this is a mirror image. Gandalf always kind of rests his hand on his sword with his left hand and then right hand on the staff. So it's definitely a weird image.
Speculation here, Zach. Sorry. What if it's like the body is a figure and the face is a Photoshop of the head? Is that a possibility as well?
I don't know.
From what I remember, these aren't figures. They didn't show any figures whatsoever besides the Joker.
Could go back to the Gandalf real quick.
Let me play this clip for myself.
Do your homework.
I literally thought these are figures because this doesn't look precise. Like, this looks a little off. This Vigo looks really good, but this Ring Wraith definitely looks like a figure because the outfits that they use are much darker than this. So I'm actually really confused now that you're saying that. Looking at the hand, that looks like
that's exactly what I was going to say. That looks like someone actually holding
I don't know.
Staff, not a toy. Because if it was a toy, it would almost look like his sword holding hands, where it's totally just there's no like subtlety of the finger grip. Like, I think these are all like, especially the Ring Wraith. I think that's like what they put in those like the Art of War of the Rings books, where it's like, look at the outfit and how many layers it has. I don't think any of these are figures, but I know there are people that are confused, so don't feel too bad, Zach.
Okay, so when I did message John and told him, he didn't say like, oh, these are just, like, he just said, okay, I'll forward that to the team. I don't know if he was just saying that to like, like,
what's he going to tell you? Like, oh no, these are...
Fuck, it's an auto response.
Now I don't. Now I'm really confused, to be honest, because this whole weekend I was like,
"What are you confused
I gotta
about?"
start getting. What I'm confused about is when they showed this teaser of this promo photo, they said we're excited to share with you the upcoming prototype.
Okay.
They hinted that it's implied to me, the way I read it and the way a lot of people read it, what they were blacking out was the prototype. Right? Comes out that it's not. It's very clearly the Hobbit promotional photo, right?
Okay.
2 days later, we get the YouTube stream, which to me was, if what we're teasing with you now isn't the prototype, what you're gonna see the next time we talk to you is the prototype. That's why I thought we were looking at prototypes.
There's a reason why they blacked out the photo and didn't put the actual photo, right? They're giving you a tease.
I don't know why, because if they're doing a Gandalf the Grey from the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I don't understand why they're blacking out a photo.
Maybe they're doing both.
Maybe the Gandalf is gonna be. It'll have all his stabs because his look doesn't really change from Hobbit to Lord of the Rings.
It does. There's blue lining on the robe at the base and at the wrists. The scarf, you get to switch it out. That's not a big deal. But, I mean, does it differ enough? Probably not. But it's like Vader, right? Like, they're going to give you a Vader for every movie, even if it's just buttons being different colors, right? This was the overlay here. I think I was really upset about this.
Yeah, I think you dissected this way too much.
How? I thought that was... John, if Hot Toys did this, you know that you would be...
Bro, Hot Toys does shit with Photoshop all the time, man. With putting up prototypes, and then what we get in hand is different, and this and that.
Yeah, you could...
Yeah, that's not like, photoshopping a photo. That's
this is just like...
having a manufacturing from proto to final being different. This is like them photoshopping a figure.
I get what you're saying. It's very sneaky. It's sneaky.
Yes.
That's the word for it. It's very sneaky because it does. The first thing you think of is shit. That's the figure. But I don't know. You gotta wait and see. All I know is Queen Sue's better get their freaking shit together. That's all. They better get their shit together.
Yeah, it's just leading more into their muddled messaging though, because it's just not clear. None of it's clear. And I watched that stream, and they talked over those images like, "Hey, these are figures." They didn't really do anything to clear up whether it was or not. Maybe it was obvious to most people, but it's just a very confusing messaging, and not the first time from them.
Well, but remember, we're not the audience, right? We're not the target audience either.
Oh, I am, dude. I got fucking money to spend on a nice Gandalf, but dude, fuck. Now I'm even more confused. Like, I watched that segment twice.
Well, and we even say always, right? Like, we wish Hot Toys communicated a little bit more. But maybe this is part of the reason that they don't, right? Especially in some of these growing pains when they're trying to, gain some hype and stuff like that for a figure. They want to show a little bit. They want to get people excited about it. But 1/6 scale collectors especially, we're a pretty picky bunch. And, like, we know what we're looking for. We know what we want out of our favorite characters, right? I think part of the issue is that there's been already a little bit of an erosion of trust. At first they told us, you can definitely trust us. We're awesome. Like, we're going to give you guys what you want. And then there was that 3-day window fiasco a little bit with the Joker, and then they kind of show us these images, but then there's no real clear direction on what we're actually looking at. So I think it's just that little bit of an erosion of trust that's the thorn in my side. I don't think that they're doing anything wrong, and I do think that they're going to end up coming out with some pretty amazing quality Lord of the Rings figures. But it's a wait and see still for me.
This line will blow anything Lord of the Rings out of the water from any scale 6-scale figure company. Completely blown up.
Any figure company, bro.
Yeah,
I have no doubt that it'll be bangers, but right now it's just kind of like
show it when you're ready to show it, right? Unless there's like some deadline pushing you to show this shit.
The thing that kind of throws me off is, like, if you look here, they're all on bases. That's another reason why I thought these were figures.
I agree. Yeah,
like, it says Nazgul on the base right there. Like, to me, like, you could even see a nameplate here, and then you have the Elven style base. Like, this screams like, hey, these are figures to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but, like, have the fact that they have the Lord of the Rings 1/6 scale collectible figures on the banner, this has a nameplate, this has a nameplate, like,
if these are figures, I'm blown away. But they look like those, like, what are they called? Fat heads that you, like, stick on your wall?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me. And then they just threw in some bases with Photoshop. Because, like, the lighting is different on every single one of those figures. It's like you're kind of Photoshopping them photoing them in the same spot. Why would the lighting look really weird on Aragorn, look okay on Legolas? The Gandalf looks like only his face is lit up. The Nazgul looks like garbage.
John, is this a common practice at all with statues? Because I know later on in the stream they talked about a Batman collectible line, and it wasn't really clear like what scale it was, but some of the images were like that, where it's like, this seems like a Photoshop of Ben Affleck, but it's got a base on it. So is this something that you've seen before, or is this kind of unique to what they're doing right now?
I from my experience, it's more, to be honest, I haven't really seen I haven't really seen it where I've seen companies Photoshop, but Photoshop around the actual release figure, not completely take a movie still and Photoshop the movie still onto a base.
Fucking cardboard cutout.
Yeah, like I haven't seen that before. But look, I think that they are, I don't know, guys. I think they're testing the market. They want to see reaction before they put product forward. Look what well, it's a statue. I'm not going to talk too much about statues, but just to bring up, they put a Scarlet Witch, quarter scale Scarlet Witch up, and the community tackled it and said, well, it needs this, this, and this. They pulled the RSVP off the site to make the adjustments. So I feel like they're putting stuff up to hear feedback and so forth. And that's it. Do I agree with what they did? No. That showcase they did was atrocious. That was like Sideshow Collectibles level, in my opinion. I'll probably get a lot of flack for that. But I wasn't impressed whatsoever.
I guess for me, I do think they're gonna be amazing figures, but I just think that if any other company did this, if Asmus did this, I mean, it would be top news, right? I just think that it's worth saying, like, we have our ears to the ground pretty well, and even within this panel, we're pretty confused about what these actually are. I did actually just message John to see if he can clear it up while we're on the air, but
what do you need cleared up, though? This is not the figure.
I just want like a yes or no, like, is this a figure or is it?
This John will tell you 100% it's not the figure. You can tell by the image. Then. You can tell.
Yeah. To me, that's really upsetting.
It's the same concept of almost looking at a render, right?
But John, like, for them to go out there and say they're going to be making these figures, I think you're past that point of gauging interest, right? Like, they're not gonna show us this and then be like, just kidding. Like, they're already in the pending licensor approval stage, which to me also shows that this is a prototype. Like, you don't show a still photo of an actor and say pending licensor approval, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just a StreamYard overlay they had, but like, to me, this would be insane if they showed this in the context of like, hey, we're making this, but hey, pending licensor approval, but also, sit tight. So I actually am somehow more confused.
I think we'll see the Gandalf next month.
Zach, what's the name of the studio that did all the Lord of the Rings outfits and swords and?
There's a few. There's United Cutlery.
They worked on the movie.
Noble Collection. Oh, Weta. You're on mute. I don't know if you had a follow up to that.
No, I just said thank you. I'm trying to find if that photo of the Ring Wraith exists somewhere else.
Yeah, you just take a screenshot and tiny eye it. If you could do that, that would be great. Now, Asmus, at least we know we're working with Asmus. They said a good news to our Lord of the Rings collectors: the 1/6 scale Gollum and Smeagol is going well in the production line. There's been effect a little by COVID-19, but it is looking good and is expected to hit the road in June or July. So, at least with Asmus, we kind of know where we stand. Like, we're getting a probably pretty good figure, not super expensive. Probably could be better, but I have no doubts that we're not going to get like something totally different than this. So, and even with Asmus, like, they're probably much better at communicating than Hot Toys, but it's still nice to see. Maybe it's unrelated, but I appreciate that we're getting that little nugget of communication.
Well, they have to now, though.
Asmus.
Are you kidding?
Of course.
I'm telling you this right now. I'm going to tell you this right now. If Queen Studios puts out their Lord of the Rings figure, and it's anywhere close to that Heath Ledger Joker, Asmus is, I don't know what they're going to have to pull out of those doors to retain that business. This is my opinion, based on the stuff you guys are showing me, because we always used to make fun here and there.
Yeah.
What they're going to have to do to pull it out, communication out. You got to understand, Asmus has the license for this in North America.
Yeah.
Queen doesn't. So we're seeing this stuff, but they should only be technically selling on the Asian market.
Mm. Yeah, so for me, it's, even if Asmus is really amazing, which I don't doubt it will be.
This looks really good, though.
Yeah, I don't... or even if Queen is really amazing, rather. I don't think I would need every figure to be made by Queen, right? Especially if you're coming in at $350 a pop, $1,000 potentially minimum for a 2-pack.
Yeah.
Obviously the Gandalf, definitely Asmus, maybe a Frodo Asmus or a Queen rather. But other figures, I don't think I need a $350 or $1,000 ring wraith.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think the $180 one will be just fine.
Yep. I think I agree.
So, I mean, I think there's still room for both companies to do really well. And Asmus, or Queen rather, I believe Marco in one of their interviews, they said they were really doing the most iconic characters from, an overall franchise. So I don't think you're going to get the full Fellowship or, kind of like, I want to say second tier characters, but you're not going to get like a King Theoden from Asmus or from Queen, I don't think. So I still think that Asmus has a fool's hope, if you will, from Lord of the Rings. But I definitely think if you're Asmus and Hot Toys, like you got to be putting your best foot forward with every single release because the clock is ticking, right?
Yep.
The market's changed, right? Like I didn't anticipate Hot Toys to, have an answer to Queen, but in my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of other collectors are like this, every time I see something release, like the Moon Knight, I'm like, there's other ways I could spend my money now that are maybe a bit more premium, and you got to wow me. And Hot Toys hasn't come out with anything wow since, the market's changed.
Yep. Well,
going back to the Gandalf and the Nazgul, 0 search results on Tiny Eye.
Wow.
Did you flip them also? No. Yeah. Try to flip them, see if it comes up, but that's not unheard of, but that's also
53.1 billion images it compared it to.
Wow.
Yeah. I would flip it just in case, but I mean, do it then. Okay, well, I'm running a show right now. Jesus
Which makes me also think, right? Like maybe they are really hybrid, where like the bodies are close to what it's going to represent, and they've just the sculpts aren't ready yet, so they've thrown on some Photoshop there. Could be another option.
But that's such a shitty thing to do. Like blur, like Hot Toys has done that where they've shown, everything but the portrait, and they blur that out, and it's, obviously pending actor approval, licensing approval. I did want to plug, we did a Queen Studios interview. We had John on last Wednesday on After Dark. We kept it public. So if you haven't watched it, I don't want to say that every question was answered. I don't want to lie to you guys. I think, it's great that he was there. We got, he's aware of some of our questions. Hopefully at some point they'll make some formal statements, but it was a good interview nonetheless. We were able to answer about a dozen questions from the listeners, live and pre-submitted questions. So it was a great little thing, big opportunity for our channel, and definitely if you haven't seen that yet, it was just a few days ago. Now this was interesting. I did reach out to Blitzway to confirm. I'm still waiting on confirmation, but Nick from 16 Republic says bad news on the Blitzway Dewey Finn from School of Rock. Blitzway responded to my email for updates stating it was canceled due to a likeness problem. The talent didn't want to publish it abruptly, and we had no choice. And when asked if another head sculpt would be attempted, they replied, no, we don't want to take a chance again. No more Jack Blacks. Very disappointing for me. I'm not like the biggest fan of School of Rock, to be honest, but I am the biggest fan of Nacho Libre.
Jack.
And if, Jack Black as well, but if Blitzway, one of the few companies touching a Jack Black figure, is like, hey, no more, because of this issue with the actor, like that pretty much kills the 0% chance of us ever getting a Nacho Libre licensed figure, which is super disappointing.
Yeah,
Zach, check the private chat.
No Tenacious D figures. That sucks because that's a great looking head sculpt. Like that looks just like him.
Perfect.
Nacho.
It does.
Thank you very much. So that was a little bit of news there. And then the big news from yesterday, Hot Toys, the Nolan Trilogy DX19 released. I think it looks pretty good, but Sideshow posted a... You think it's shit?
Tallish.
Oh, okay. At least it is shit. I wouldn't say that. Sideshow posted a... I don't know what you call it, like a video showcasing it, and their lighting, I think, was pretty poor because I wasn't particularly feeling, what I was seeing. But a lot of collectors in hand say it's a fairly decent improvement over the DX12. So if you guys have anything you guys want to say about it, we can do that.
Nothing positive on my end.
Go ahead, John.
It's tall. This release was not necessary. And yeah, what's going on, Joe? Thanks for tuning in, brother. Appreciate support. Yeah, no, guys, come on. This wasn't needed. The Batpod's not needed. The reissue of the Tumblr's not needed. Those are 3 releases that they could have just put their efforts towards giving us something that they've shown previously and made everyone happy. 2, because asking, is this a 2.0? I wouldn't even say this is a 2.0 because it's maybe a reinvigorated portrait.
No, but even the body.
Well, it's a different body. Different.
Well, the body's
head,
different. I think the body's
faceplate.
worse on this one. He looks
Yeah, but
skinny,
even
tall,
the suit, even
and
the
lanky.
The crotchal region is totally different.
The crotchal region is totally different. They made the body different, but the posability is still the same. The issue with the DX12 was the posability and how the suit would ruin. This has they reinvented the suit and the body, but it has the same issues. They didn't fix anything. You're gonna have this Batman this tall. He's not gonna scale well with your other figures from the line.
It depends if it was underscaled to begin with, because that's the problem with some of the older diecast Iron Man. The scale is much taller. Yeah, but when you line them up like in the display, it doesn't look right.
And secondly, this shouldn't be compared to the DX12. This should be compared to the suit that came with the armory set, because that suit was even better than the DX12.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You ain't wrong.
Yeah, I don't even know if they came out around the same time, but Avengers 1 Thor is like completely underscaled. He's like shorter than my Captain America figure. And it's like, this looks fucking goofy on the shelf. Like, I can't line up all my Avengers and have them look decent. So I bet you anything that this first Batman is not the correct scale.
Yeah, Nicolio and Soul Nightmare both say that they're underscaled. So, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing if they get a new version of the figure to get it more in scale with other ones. And you can always use the original and put on the Batpod where the scale is not going to stick out as much. So
True. I want to play devil's advocate to John, though, because he was saying, this isn't a necessary release. But for someone like me, the Dark Knight was what got me interested into Hot Toys. I never pulled the trigger just because I wasn't there, space-wise or financially. But I've always wanted a Dark Knight Batman. So this is one that I've been really interested in. But even from the promo pictures, like the pre-release pictures, I wasn't sold on the figure. I was like, just something about it seems off, right? In certain lightings, it looks really good. And then certain lightings like this, it just looks like, man, this isn't right. And as we alluded to, right, the market's changed, and there's going to be other companies tackling, this Batman, at least the Dark Knight Rises. So, yeah, I'm still on the fence. I still want this one, but yeah, it just feels like they didn't make enough of an improvement to really justify this release.
So Fad, sorry, go ahead.
No worries. I was going to say, I'll tag on to that too, like a mixture of Marco and John's points, because, I was really impressed with this figure when it came out in 2012. The DX12, it was amazing. And that's the figure that got me into Hot Toys collecting. But I've done so many mods to the DX12 that I'm already seeing I would want to do with the DX19. So, I think the cut and sew of the cape on the DX19 is better than the DX12, but the material looks very similar. And that material was a crazy, crazy dust collector, cat hair collector, just crazy. Also, the neck peg on the figure. For my DX12, I actually had to separate the neck peg apart and drop the ball inside it so that I could push the neck further essentially down into the figure and make it look more realistic. I'm worried that the DX19 is virtually the same. Is virtually the same thing.
Can you tell me that one now? It's damaged.
Right. So I split that in half to drop the ball. And so as I said, if the neck looks a little bit long, the cape looks like it's a similar material, and then I'm with John. One of the things that I was really, really hoping with the DX19 was that they'd at least improve some of the flexibility of the suit. obviously they can't change the suit design because this is the suit design that was in the movie. So you can't hate on it too much. But the articulation that they were trying to show in that sideshow preview today, he couldn't even hold the gun the way that Terry was trying to get him to pose it. And it's exactly the same issues that the DX12 had. And so for me, at least if you have a DX12 in your collection, I honestly can't justify making the switch over to this guy, surprisingly. The only other thing is that I also have the DX11 Joker and I've got the Hot Toys Bane. So yes, I understand that this DX12 might be a little underscaled in comparison to the actor or, some of our other figures in our collections nowadays. But I'd be worried if I got this DX19 standing beside the DX11 Joker and that Bane, he would look way too big. And I'm not about to go and start rebuying, I guess I'm going to be buying the Queen Studios Joker, but I'm not going to go and rebuy another Bane. Like, I don't want to have to rebuy all the figures I already own. There are so many cool things that are coming out. Like, I just can't, this to me feels like it's buying backwards. So that's the reason I feel just a little disappointed. Otherwise, I'm happy for anybody who never got this figure because I still think you'll be happy with it in lots of ways. So
Fad here says people have now grown up and they are in the workplace, so they'll have a disposable income. With that in mind, for new collectors, it makes perfect sense. Okay, Fad. Now they have disposable income, so guess what you're going to do? You're going to pay the secondary market price because you missed that out on the first. It's just like me. When I went to go buy a house, I had the funds at the time I did, and I didn't get my house half of the value that it was 3 years ago because guess what? I wasn't in the market 3 years ago. And the government's not going to be lowering the house prices for me, so I had to buy at that time. Come on.
What if the government made more houses that were really good and maybe even better than the house you wanted, and they were the retail price?
Well, I don't know how your housing works there, but that doesn't happen here, that's for sure. But
that freedom Buckstein.
Well, the government's not involved.
this here is, sorry. I'm sorry. You guys know how I feel.
John, you would have been okay if they did like a complete reimagining of this figure, right? Like if
how would
use none of the parts, how would they do it?
Yeah.
I don't know, just complete like...
It's like Ben said, the suit's the same. It's not like they can...
Yeah. Well, it's not the same. I mean, the crotchal region is different.
I'm saying the suit...
There's some reuse, though.
Quite a bit of reuse.
I'm saying the suit, you can't change the suit because that's what showed up in the film.
Yeah.
The problem here is he looks like giraffe legs on the left. That picture on the right, the Batman on the left, looks like those legs look... The one on the right, he looks fat, and the one on the left, he looks too
they
skinny.
both don't look great in this photo.
So, for me, the issue was the posability. The issue was the posability. They didn't fix it. There's still an issue with it. If you're going to come out with a reissue, fucking fix it. The issue. Secondly, just for anybody who owns a DX12 in the box and you haven't taken it out, I took mine out the other day. Under that belt, the suit leaks. You're going to think I'm crazy. But the suit leaks in oil, yeah. So just keep that in mind. You might want to pop it open, wipe it a little bit. But I'm not going to go out and buy this. I got the representation already. And like I said, I'd like to see a side-by-side of the armory Batman next to this, because that's the one that should be compared.
It's way better, John. You're right. Even like I swapped my DX12 head sculpt out with the Armory head sculpt, and it was a night and day difference for the figure. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The only question I have for you guys, with tied to this release, anyways, is often in the past, Hot Toys has kind of released, I think they're called Cosbabies or the Cosbys, with the figures.
Did you say Cosbys?
That's what it says in the Hot Toys ad on the Facebook. I pulled up the page. It's literally called a Cosby collection, but the Cosbabies, anyways.
I thought those were the ones you picked up in prison.
The question is though, is that they've shown the whole line of these Cosbabies. Like they've shown the Two-Face, the Joker, the Scarecrow, all of them, Bane, all of them. Do you think that's an indication that Hot Toys is going to release all of them?
0%.
You think 0%? Really?
No,
really?
0%.
If you're 100%.
No,
I would have thought 100%.
If you look at the Cosbaby line, like how deep they go into that line, with Cosbaby, Cos Riders, like all the different Cos that they do, they make a ton of Cosbabies.
Yeah, but they make
very few figures Like, just because it's a cos baby does not mean it's going to be a figure.
They've already redone Two-Face. They redid Catwoman.
They redone. They
Yes,
redone
but-
everything.
I
But
guarantee they're
the fact
redoing
that they're
Bane
in
and
a cos
Joker.
baby, it doesn't have any effect on whether it's going to be remade. That's what I'm answering.
I,
I'm not
I hear
answering.
that, Zach. I hear that, Zach. But I would say, go ahead, Dean.
Oh, because that was like the big question with Venom. It's like, well, they did a cos baby Venom. When are they going to do a figure? And then eventually we saw it. Like, I think it's a pretty clear indication of what they're willing to make. So I would bet higher than lower.
Carlito's good here. Well, no issue. Once a figure sold out, it was done.
But Dean, to that point, like if we even take the cos babies out of it, like I think that they're just going to revisit this line because again, there's so many folks that grew up on these movies that want to collect those. That But John, I think you and I are in complete agreement though. Don't do the figures again unless it's a complete
100%.
reimagining. Don't reuse the parts. Like come out with a brand new thing so that the original release stands on its own. And this is something brand new.
But
or
how are
else
you
don't
going to
touch
do
the
that?
figures.
That's the question. With this Batman figure, what would they give us to do that?
Well, a new suit material maybe.
Like DX12 came so jam packed already. All the accessories, all the stuff. What are they going to do here?
Completely
Cape
re-engineered
material for me.
You're going to tell
there
me
you go.
Queen Studios is going to give us the Joker that they just did, and Hot Toys' answer to that, their competition, is going to be to do a Joker, another Heath Ledger Joker. I would
could
say
see it.
I would say for them to really step up would be a Nurse Joker, not to come out and do another.
Yes.
This would be their third rendition of the same Joker.
I mean, to me, that would be a letdown. That's like a one scene thing.
But we also have to understand that Hot Toys holds the licensing distribution with Sideshow for North America. Queen doesn't. Queen has to go through all these.
But that really hasn't affected them at all. I mean, pretty much anyone that I know that wanted to get it was able to get it for basically the retail price. Like,
But I'm just saying, from Hot
remember
Toys'
that window
perspective,
opened right back up.
Hot Toys, I think he's just a little He's a little too confident. He doesn't feel like it's been shaken yet.
Let's John, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Is that me? You can't just drop that like after that much passion on screen, you're gonna just drop the.
That's a transition right there, baby.
Cool down.
Jeez. All right, guys. We want to thank 1/6 Corner. Their mission is to provide the best figures and collectibles to their customers. They offer great prices, great packaging, fast shipping, and best in the business customer service. Collecting Weekly listeners get 10% off in-stock figures while our show is live using code capital C, capital W 10. Choose your figures, pay safely with PayPal, and you leave the rest to them.
Our discussion of the week was why do you stream? And I think John originally posed this idea for why we do what we do. But I want to pose this question as well to the listeners of why do you stream content like this? And we have a few answers from our Facebook. We'll read those towards the end of this segment. But I'm curious, Dean, we'll start with you. Why do you stream?
I guess it's when I got into collecting heavy and then particularly 6 scale stuff, I had no idea what was anything, right? Third party, Hot Toys, Sideshow. I wasn't really paying attention to what brand was making what. It's like, oh, they made a 12-inch Boba Fett. I'll go buy that. I wasn't in the know on a lot of stuff. I didn't know what kit bashing was, customs. I had no clue. And then I meet Zach, and Zach kind of opens my eyes to a lot of this stuff.
Is that the only thing he opened?
And also my asshole. And he had this idea for the show, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna talk about some stuff in my collecting verse, the things that matter the most to me in collecting." Right? We open every show that way, and he would talk about water treating or custom paints, doing touch-ups, and it was such a neat idea. And I loved the shit out of those shows, like 15 to 10 minutes long, like not very long. He would just talk about things he did that week. And it was so, I loved listening to it. I was like, okay, like I could do that. Like it's not so impossible. Zach, he's explaining all this cool stuff, and it really kind of boosted my confidence as a collector. And he decided that it was kind of hard for him to talk, by himself. And I was like, dude, I'll help you, because if you're helping me, we can help a ton of other people, figure this shit out. And talk about where to buy things, like where not to buy things, and just like all the different aspects that we cover on the show. It was kind of the idea, like, hey, like I'm still learning as well. I'm sure there's somebody out there who has no fucking idea what's going on. And so I started helping Zach with the show on like the third iteration of Collecting Weekly. And yeah, so for me it was yeah, this is one of our first hangouts. For me, it was to get information out there for people who might not have access to it. I think it's Marco, it might be you, but like you don't have friends near or around you that do collecting, right? It was you, right?
I don't have friends in general, but yeah.
Okay.
No, but yeah.
Shout
I
out
don't
to
have
Baby
anyone
Girl 207.
Yeah.
One friend. But yeah, I don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff. for
Right.
sure.
And I'm sure there's a ton of, like, Brenton lives in a town. I think he said his town has like 800 people in it. My high school had more people than that.
That explains everything.
So like, yeah. So like, I know there's people out there who don't have an outlet. And it's like, dude, if we could provide that outlet, give them information, some insight, so they're not throwing their money away. They're learning, hey, I could do this stuff all by myself. I don't need to hire a customizer, or, like we got into the 3D printing, or, custom paint work Zach does on the Joy of Hobbying. It's to help the collector and, provide some entertainment. Like last night was just an unboxing show. Dude, we were laughing so hard. And it's that sense of community, to get out there, and maybe collecting doesn't seem so bad or so alone. Because I know for me, for the longest time, I didn't have anybody else that collected, friend wise, and so my friends are always like, "Why you buy that? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I like this stuff, so I buy it." And I found Rainer and Manny and Zach, and Adon showed me this whole fucking literal community of collectors in my own backyard, and it was just so great that we could get that out there to everyone else. So that's why I do it, because also these streams are like the highlight of my week. I got to come hang out with my buds, everybody in the chat that I might not have met any other way. So that's my answer.
I love collecting. Always have. Started back in the day, Sideshow Freaks. For all the old guys that have been collecting. Sideshow Freaks Forum. That was the place on a weekend. You'd get a release. It was the first one. Who could start the thread? Back in the day. And, I've always seen these guys YouTube. Hey, I always used to think to myself, this would be cool. Talk about what you like and this and that. And I always used to think to myself, what are the chances? What are the chances that I can ever be on a YouTube channel? And then I thought one day, start my own little unboxing thing. And then here we are today. I do it because this is a passion of mine. And I love to take some time. And like you guys said, I don't have too many people here either that collect. There are a few, but not too many. And I just like to keep it real in the hobby. You hear a lot of guys in this hobby just go off and sugarcoat a new release. Oh, so beautiful, so beautiful. They don't tell you the truth. I like to keep it real. I like to talk both ends of the story. For the little guy, there's people out there that majority don't agree with me, but you got the small handful that do. So that's why I do it. I do it to represent those few, not to be a stubborn ass, because I know I am a stubborn ass, but it's I was able to meet these great guys, other YouTubers, lucky to stream with them as well. And I don't know, it's just become such a great addition to the hobby. So I can't see myself ever stopping now, to be honest. Carlito says, the community's been great. Really appreciate what you guys do. For a long time, I thought I was the only one buying this stuff. Appreciate the support, Carlito. Yeah, it's all about the community, and I don't know, sometimes the comments you read, you start getting steam coming out of the ears. But, you know, you got to take a breath and say to yourself, you know, these guys all have opinions as well. But, like Sam here, look, he's like, just to hear people bitch about having reissues and stuff like that. He said my name. Damn it, Sam. But no, I love you guys, everyone in the community. It's always great. Take a couple hours in an evening and just talk about this stuff.
Yeah, really similar to what Dean and John said. I guess let me talk about why I got into it and why I've stayed in it. Number one, you know, I try to talk to people in my everyday life. Gigi, you know, told me to shut it. She didn't want to hear any more about the figures. And so, you know, we keep it very concentrated on just the podcast and try to limit the talk. Otherwise, you know, I try to talk to my coworkers who are into like Marvel movies and Star Wars. Someone called HR on me because they're like, Hot Toys, what is this guy talking about? He's kind of weird. But there's so much nuance to 1/6 figure collecting that I found myself like, you know, like not really understanding like where to go. And so I started, you know, watching more streams on YouTube and listening to podcasts, and like 6 Scale Scavengers and Collecting Weekly were kind of those first communities that I found. And, yeah, and I was like, you know, I got some opinions too. I felt like I could, you know, do a little bit of this. And, you know, luckily, as we all know, Zach invited me on, and the rest has been history. So I'm really fortunate to get this opportunity. And I've just stayed because everyone in the community is just so awesome. Like just the nicest people you can meet. So it's just really great to be able to talk with friends about this type of stuff that we're passionate about. And it's really just a great distraction, right? It's all, even the stuff that we get upset about, you know, it's just sometimes on my part, just fake outrage, because it's not that serious, but it's just a fun distraction. And to be able to, you know, kind of almost debate your fellow collectors is just a fun hobby, basically. So yeah, no regrets.
So you're
really
in it for the
enjoyed
fights.
Yeah, sometimes, right? Sometimes you need that outlet, right? I know you're not though, John. Never.
Oh, I'm definitely not.
Yeah, and so it's interesting for me being new to you know, streaming with you guys a little bit, because I'm in the same boat. In Canada, I didn't know anybody in my community, of my friendship groups, of my family, that collected anything like 1/6 scale figures. And because they were so expensive, every time I even considered buying one, I got that fear of the money spent, and thought, you know, like, I need to be able to justify this to myself. I need to be able to justify this to my fiance, you know. So I would go searching for information on these figures, and that's how I ended up coming across Collecting Weekly. It's how I came across other channels, you know, like 1/6 Scale Man and Justin's collection, and all of those guys, right? I mean, that's what got me into the YouTube side of it anyways, and just paying attention. And I remember being a lot like the guys and the folks just in the chat, ladies and gentlemen in the chat, that, you know, they're sitting there on their couch at home eating popcorn, you know, watching the streams, wanting to, you know, shout at the TV, oh, like, this is my point, I wish I could say this, you know, I wish I could throw this point out there for the guys and, you know, get the discussion going, right? And so for me, I started to try and think of ways that I could kind of create my own content. The crazy thing about creating content or streaming just in general is I didn't realize how nerve-wracking that is. When you put content out there, whether it's a live stream or a video or a tutorial or anything like that, you're putting a little bit of a piece of yourself out there for the world. And as soon as that's out there, you're opening yourself up to criticism, right? And so I remember, you know, the first video I put out, I lost sleep that night. I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to get ripped apart on Facebook. And people are going to be like, you don't quit your day job, buddy, you know, right? But that wasn't what I found. In fact, if anything, I ended up actually, you know, making new friends. And now I talk to guys like Marco every day, like more than I talk to my own family, which is crazy. And even,
that's a sad trade-off, man.
Well, it's crazy, but it's crazy what the community has done. You know, the other day, Zach, like, I was, you know, talking to you about paint, you know, randomly doing, you know, paint advice for your house, right? And saying, you know, like, if you're going to go to a Sherwin-Williams, you know, call me, let me call the rep there for you. Let me get you a discount, you know, like, it's crazy what connections we've been able to have because of really badass toys and collectibles and statues and figures and all of the things. And so for me, I think what's going to keep me in streaming is the friendships that I've created and the ability to talk somebody else's ear off about something like a Marty Back to the Future figure with Marco, as opposed to telling Shauna all about it, who starts to kind of fade out just a little
Within
bit,
seconds,
after
sure.
about 30 seconds, you're like, and I don't drive her as crazy, right? And because it does take some work, but I think at the end of the day, it ends up being really, really worth it. And now I have an outlet to support some of the things that I want to buy. Almost too much, right? I think for all of us, we've all enabled each other a couple times more than we probably could have afforded to do so, but I think it's worth it. So, and for anybody out there in the chat who's listening, if you're like I was and you really, really just wanted to get your voice out there and talk to us at some point, for me at least, always reach out. If and I'm sure these guys are the same way. If you guys have questions, you want to talk, reach out, because that's how I started, and that's how I'm here right now. So
I think collecting and streaming in general has been really great. I think you guys all made some great points. I've found such really great camaraderie working with these fine gents and others in the past. I think the last few years, and I don't know if it'll ever get released, but I was working on like a little bit of a book, and that's been like sidelined pretty hard. But I mentioned in the book, like, I had like a pretty big group of friends, and it's like once you have a kid, like things really change. Like the last time I talked to my best man from my wedding was the day my daughter was born. I've never talked to him since then. It just changes things. And so I started collecting shortly before, like maybe like 6 months before she was born. So I had met, by this point, Dean and Rainer and Manny. But when all my non-collecting friends kind of trickled out of my life, there's a few, but it was really the collecting friends that were there for me. And I had some different backgrounds with like Warhammer and some other things. No, Sam is not. And I was able to bring some of that to collecting, painting stuff and hobbying stuff and repair stuff. And a lot of the friends that I had were very curious about it, and it was kind of hard to describe it. So we would get together and kind of do like in-person workshops and stuff like that. Eventually I started collecting weekly twice. Didn't do particularly well either the first 2 times. But I mean, really, the third time, I think we really took it seriously, and we kind of had this goal of like, if there's 1,000 people watching or 20 people watching or 30 people watching, like, we're going to give it the same level of seriousness, and we make it or we don't, like, that's fine. And so for me, I guess there's a lot of purpose that it gives. Like, I feel very focused about it. Like today I was just having a terrible day, but I was like, I got a lot of work to do on the show, got to organize everything, get our photos uploaded. And it's great when like there's people like John that I can rely on, like, hey, I need you to do this for me, and like, let's get this information done. And Marco's been a great help also, like kind of recapping some of the things that I'm not able to watch. There's been a few interviews, like, because we make content many hours a week, and then it's like we watch some of the content, but there's not possibility for us to watch every single bit of content out there. And so the past few weeks, he's been recapping some of the really important interviews that I haven't been able to watch for me, and it's been really helpful for me to kind of stay in the know. And it's really like a force multiplier, because if he spends an hour watching that and then another hour putting it together, it saves all of us like each individually like an hour. And we're kind of like making the best of our time, and I hope in some ways we can repay that time as well. But
y'all are just doing so much already. Anything that I could do to take a
Yeah.
little off your plate,
Yeah, and it's great. Like, Ben made a great point. Like, we just moved, and I have so many home renovation questions, and Mark is like an expert, and so he's been giving me some tips and tricks for like, oh, hey, like, how do I fix this, or like, is this the right way to fix that? And it's just a great camaraderie, and that's really what's kept me in it. Like, the people that watch are amazing. Like, I get messages and emails, and I usually wake up to about like a dozen or two a day and it's amazing. And the Patreon chat, like, you know, there's just a great conversation that's there every day. Everyone, good morning, good night. You know, last week we did a Moon Knight watch party, which I don't know if I'm gonna be up for it tonight because I was dragging ass the next day. But
Getting
it's
too old for that.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful community, and that's what keeps me going. There are some great comments. Sam says, "For me, it's my time. My time is precious. Single dad who raises kids solo." Shout out to that. That's amazing. Thankfully, my son likes to watch the show with me. Mark says, "Streaming ain't easy. I can talk shit with the best of them, but look like a dumbass on screen."
Sam,
never.
who's your son's favorite host? Come on, brother. You gotta let us know.
Wow. Sunnyvale had a great question. He also comments as well. Props to putting out a great show, guys. It's educational and entertaining. These are some of the comments here. Producing content is the maximum level of hobby involved, in my opinion, between my work with the Vintage Rebellion podcast and the collecting track stage at Star Wars Celebration. I feel like I've met the entire vintage Star Wars collecting community. I'm sure CW and the crew feel something similar in the 1/6 scale and statue market. Keep up the great work. That was from Chris. Charles said, podcasting is a medium for me and my pod partner to connect with fans of similar stuff and share our enjoyment of the virtual golden age of pop culture, movies, and TV. The good thing about these social media sites is being able to connect with like-minded fans, not just in your city, but all over the world. Bob Dylan says, I watch your stream because it helps my stream, meaning you make me laugh until I pee myself, which is a great comment. Seamus says, even before the pandemic, I consume lots of podcasts as my job allows me to do that. It's ramped up even more with working from home, and it's a great way to make friends with other collectors as I don't know any locally. It has become a real hangout with the crew atmosphere, which is nice to have after 2 years of not being able to see people in person. We also had a great question. Sunnyvale says, what are some aspects about streaming you're not too fond of? For me, I think it has to be... That's a great question. Yeah. I don't expect every video to be a banger, but sometimes I'll put like a ton of work into a project and it's like hours of video editing and stuff like that. Or like even some of the Ox Plays stuff, like it might seem like, Jesus Christ, something's going on in the background. It might seem like there's a ton of there's not a ton of prep, but you know, usually to get like a 30 minutes of footage, I'll be playing for like an hour or two to get like a good run on a mission or like something worth sharing. I think for the one that people really liked, the dinosaur game, it was probably like an hour of playing before I got good enough to like start recording, and then I died. I had to do like 10 streams and I kept dying really quickly and it was really annoying, and I finally got one that was like a decent run, and then they'll get like 20 views and I'm like, well, oh, no, that was not particularly a productive, you know, use of 2 hours, but yeah, it's fun anyways. So there's that. Or like when you make, like I remember I was making a tech issues. I think that's probably my least favorite thing, is when there's something out of your control that it's just like for example, lately we've been having a StreamYard thing where there's like audio glitching, and it's like there's nothing we could do to prepare for it, nothing that we can anticipate. There's nothing on screen that shows us about it. That's frustrating. But like I've been doing like playthroughs on Flight Sim, and I'm like, okay, everything looks really good. Like all my levels look great. Do a test stream, looks great. And then I start the game and the engines and the planes start going, and then my audio's drowned out and you can't hear anything I'm saying. And it's like an hour-long flight, and I land, you know, save the stream, and I check it and it's just like totally unusable footage. Like, yeah, that's probably my least favorite part. Anyone else?
I thought you were going to say when people don't mute themselves.
Oh, that too. Jesus Christ.
Least favorite part? I don't know. It's... I think it's more so people that you deal with or come across than the actual streaming aspect. Sometimes, you know, you butt heads, and that can be a stressful interaction. Or the tech issues. Tech issues is a big one. Like Friday, I was sweating. I'll tell you that, buddy. I was sweating.
John, I'll just piggyback off of what you said there, only in that, like, I'm from a big Mexican family, right? Or two big Mexican families. Anytime there's like a lot of people, there's going to be different, you know, opinions, different personalities, and not everyone can always get along. and I'm a big time pacifist. I'm sure everyone could tell that. So I'm always like trying to play Switzerland and like and trying not to insult anybody. And when you do that, you always end up pissing somebody off. So I think this community is not unlike just like every community you would ever be in. And I just don't like when people aren't like getting along. But besides that, once we get past that, I think we're all talking about figures at the end of the day. So there's just so much love that I think it drowns out any of the rest of the stuff.
And I think for me, it's a couple quick things that I think, like I said earlier, when I started making the videos, I thought I'd be able to kind of whiz through them. I thought I just needed a good camera and a good microphone, and I'd be able to just take some good pictures and some video and throw it all together, and boom, there's a video out on YouTube. And boy, was I wrong. Shauna said I looked really tired in one of my videos the other day, and I was like, yeah, it's because I was started that thing at like 11 o'clock at night, and I didn't stop until 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was a 9-minute video. But it took 4 hours for me to actually put it together. And then, like Zach said, I think it got like maybe 27 views or something. I mean, but I didn't put it out because I wanted the views. I put it out because I was just really hyped on looking at this figure again. And if anybody out there, if the 27 people that watched it for 2 minutes got some fun out of it, then that was worth it. I think some of the challenges I've had are things like tech issues, being invited on, shows like this, Collecting Weekly, and then my mic cuts out, and talk about sweating, like you're in the background trying to get it rehooked up, knowing Zach's like, hey buddy, like, where are you? Right? That's a little stressful, but at the end of the day, I think it's the time investment that I didn't recognize was truly there. And I think the last point is the keeping it fresh. There's so many folks doing streams nowadays, especially way more than even when I started watching streams 2 or 3 years ago. So I think the challenge of keeping it fresh week over week and having as many shows as like Collecting Weekly has and stuff, that can be a real difficult thing. And so, like Zach, today I had the worst day possible at work, and I didn't think there was any way I'd smile today. Clearly not the case. I've been, smiling ear to ear since I got here, right? And it's just that. It's a good separation from that everyday life. So.
Yeah, for me, it's just that streaming isn't real content. Everyone knows that. So
just press record and
yeah, you just hit record, and there's no effort, and I don't feel challenged, honestly. No. I guess for me, one thing I don't like about streaming is probably Zach. He
wow.
No, of course not. That's why
second thought.
I'm glad someone said it.
Yeah, finding the balance, because I feel like I'm Zach's the yin to his yang, right? Like, he is so brutal in like structure and being on pace and keeping shit on track, and I'm more of a free flowing kind of
soul.
Yeah, just kind of like, hey, like, we're here to have fun. Like, you don't need to be so rigid. But there are times where I'm like, fuck, I wish Zach was here. Like, if I'm on another channel or doing something kind of on my own, and I'm like, damn, like, Zach he makes some good points, and I feel like I have to keep myself open to that. And so finding the balance between being very structured and not taking it too seriously, because I gotta remind him sometimes too, like, hey man, like, chill out, like, we're good. You could let off a little bit. And so yeah, to me, it's finding that balance of like, hey, don't do this too much one way, and don't be on too far on the other side. So that's it's hard. It really is. Watching it doesn't seem like it until you actually do it, and you're like, oh yeah, like, we could definitely stand to do this one way or the other. So
what a great conversation point by
that was fun.
By, John. Well done. Yeah, love all the comments. Also, you guys all have some great stories, and we really appreciate you guys being here every night, as often as you can. Our movie of the week was Training Day. It's a police drama about a veteran officer who escorts a rookie on his first day with the LAPD's tough inner city narcotics unit. Training Day is a blistering. You have the buttons too, man. Is a blistering action drama that asks the audience to decide what is necessary, what is heroic, and what crosses the line in the harrowing gray zone of fighting urban crime. Does law-abiding law enforcement come at the expense of justice and public safety? If so, do we demand safe streets at any cost? I could have sworn, like, if I had to put money on it last week, apparently my audio is choppy. I could have sworn that I had seen this movie, and watching it today, I realized I had not seen this movie. What a fucking banger of a film. Holy shit. Like, from, you know, the first phone call in the kitchen to, you know, meeting at the diner, the movie does a really good job of, like, escalating. So you kind of start out, he's kind of an asshole in the diner, and then they pull over the college kids, kind of rough them up a bit, and then it, like, starts to just, like, every scene progressively get worse. You know, the peer pressure to try drugs, like stopping the girl from getting raped, like, I mean, it gets, like, you know, from petty crime, like a small drug bust, to, like, you know, kingpin level shit, like, in a day. Like, it's weird because Denzel, like, in the character in the movie, he does such a good job of, like, it's almost like 2 steps forward in terms of, like, the dark side, and then, like, 1 step back. Like, he'll be like, you know, hey, take this weed, and then he'll be like, dude, if you did that in the streets and you didn't take it, like, you'd be dead. Like, he kind of, like,
not checkers.
Yeah, he kind of justifies tries to justify every negative thing with, like, a, hey, I'm doing this for you because blank, right? And you just see, like, he is just, like, not a good person. Like, just all the shit that they're doing, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And finally, you get, like, this plot, and I'll be honest, like, most movies, like, I'm watching and I'll, you know, put it on and start doing something else. But this movie, I was, like, glued to watching it. And the one scene where they're dropping off the blender and the toaster with the Latins, and, like, he dips out, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna use the restroom. And the tension that builds when he's sitting there playing cards might be maybe one of the most, like, tense. Like, I was getting crazy anxiety. Like, oh my god, like, it was insane. The ending.
Shout out to those guys that play the Mexican guys in every movie too.
Yeah, shout out to
those
Hector
3 specifically. One of them's not even Mexican for sure, maybe even more.
Yeah, and now the only thing I didn't fully understand was the ending, because, you know, he goes to Eva Mendez's, like, apartment, and he's, like, on a mission. Like, he's like, I'm gonna fuck, like, at least from what I was getting, he was gonna fucking kill him. Like, you know, he's walking up, he's like, yo, I'm here for you know, to do, like, for this thing. Like, he's got the gun in his hand, and then he gets there and he kind of pulls it back, and, like, he has plenty of chances to kill Denzel Washington, and he never really does. And even, like, at the end of the fight where he's clearly won, like, he's bested him, and he just walks away. And to me, I didn't really fully understand the third act. Like, I get why at the end the gangs let him leave, because it's like, he's already a dead man, like, there's no point. But I just didn't fully get it. So you know, minus that, I think it was a great film. I think, Marco, you said this was your top potential 5 films. I've only seen it once, so I'm not really ready to commit there just yet, but holy shit, this was such a banger of a movie. And I feel like Ethan Hawke, I think is his name, I don't know that I've seen him in a lot of films, but this may be my favorite role of his ever. Like, he just absolutely killed it. And yeah, this may have been one of my favorite movie of the weeks in a long time.
Yeah, this movie, I remember when I first watched it, it was kind of like, everyone always says, like, oh, Training Day. Like, when you talk Denzel, like, oh, Training Day. That movie's amazing. And so finally I was like, all right, let me watch it. So I watched it, and yeah, it's a fucking banger of a movie. So when Marco recommended it, I was like, all right, let me go back and revisit this. And seeing it for a second time, kind of knowing how it happens, there's a lot of things that kind of happen in a moment and you're just kind of like, oh, that's weird. But it comes back, maybe it's like 30 seconds later, or like the scene where he saves the girl. That comes back way later and it's such a key part of the movie. But like the thing where he makes him take the drugs, and you're just kind of like, oh shit, like he's just like kind of being like a hard ass like instructor. And then like it's a few minutes later, he kind of uses it against him, right? Like, oh, it's already in your fucking system. Like, you could lose your job over this. He's like, yeah, but you made me do it. He's like, I didn't make you do anything. And you kind of
He's like, I didn't have a gun to your head. It's like, motherfucker, what?
Yeah, and you kind of figure out like, oh, he's a piece of shit. Like, this isn't a good guy. Like, he's not only like kind of like a dirty cop, but he doesn't have Ethan Hawke's best interest at mind as a rookie, And I kind of think for me, that was like the moment where I knew like, okay, like this guy for sure is the antagonist. Because you go into the movie, like you said, there's kind of like, oh, is he or isn't he like a good guy? And to me, that was kind of when I figured out like, okay, like he's definitely not somebody you should be rooting for. And sure enough, the movie plays out and he is indeed just a giant piece of shit.
But you don't root for him just a little bit though?
Not
0%.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, he was bagging Eva Mendes, so just a touch.
Right.
And Equan with the top tier comment, props to Eva Mendes for being naked in this film. Oh my god.
Oh my
Had that shit on
god.
replay.
She on X
Making me
Games
thirsty,
mode.
bro.
Yeah, this movie it's so, it's not kind of what you expect for a cop movie, right? Like, I mean, even though it's not a comedy, buddy cop movies are usually like, oh, it's me and this guy against the world, right? But it comes very clear that no, it's you versus this guy and the world. And luckily for Ethan Hawke, he saves that girl. And the guys, it's during that poker scene, right, Zach? That they're about to kill him, and then the girl's
they
like,
find
oh,
the wallet, and when the girl answers, she's like, "Oh, I was at school all day." I was like, "You bitch!" I was like, "This can't end this way."
Yeah.
And sure enough, she finally tells the truth, and I think one of the best parts was like, "Hey, bro, like this was strictly business, like." It's nothing personal, and
right.
But holy dude, the tension when they're like, "Can I see your Beretta?" It's like. Also, did Beretta sponsor this movie? Because they mentioned Beretta like 5 times in this movie.
Yes. They might have. But yeah, it was such a really interesting take on a cop movie because, my dad was a cop growing up and I usually lean towards cop movies, And to have like the main cop of the movie be the bad guy is like, oh shit, that was really cool. Great movie. Probably Denzel's best movie. I'd have to go back and pour through his catalog, but he's usually not a bad guy. So when you watch the movie, especially for me so late, it was like, okay, it's Denzel. Like he's a fucking awesome guy. He usually plays the kick-ass guy. And it's like, oh shit, no, he plays a really, really good bad guy. So this movie, if you haven't seen it, sorry for spoiling it. It's so good.
I enjoyed it. Sam's saying, I'm thinking John didn't watch it because he's not saying there's any meat on the bone. Comments yet. No, there's a meat on the bone they left. I thought it was a good movie here. Let me go with the specs first. You got to go with those.
Please. The runtime.
2 hours and 2 minutes. Jeez Louise.
Wow.
IMDb 7.7 out of 10 and Rotten Tomatoes 73%.
Terrible. Awful.
Really good movie. Snoop Dogg was hilarious.
Holy shit!
There's the
my
meat,
man got
Sam.
Speed, bro.
There's the meat.
Holy shit!
Guy grabs the pen. I was like, oh my god.
Looking at it, bro.
Everyone, Snoop, Dre. Fuck, I was expected to see Eminem.
Macy Gray.
Who?
Ava
Macy
Mendes,
Gray.
bro.
Oh yeah, that was funny with the. You stole my money. It was a good movie. Okay. I didn't like the ending. I didn't like how Denzel, that character, ended up. Denzel acting here, fucking phenomenal. Ethan Hawke, oh my god, he's a phenomenal actor. That He was in. I was talking to, who was it? Marco, I think. Marco or Dean. He did a movie with Angelina Jolie that was really good, where they were a couple, and then he was years ago. Anyways, he's a good actor. Great cop movie. It's stick to your guns is what this teaches you, right? He was like, no, this isn't right. I'm a cop. I want to do the right thing. I don't want to get into this illegal shit. Stick to your guns, guys. That's what this movie teaches you. Be you and don't fold for anyone, right? It could have been easy to take the money and go, yeah, well, let's get in on this and this. What for? You stick to your guns, do things the right way, and that's how life should be. Great movie. Didn't like how Denzel ended up, that character. They could have played it out. I think they got lazy in the end. But yeah, I loved it.
I think it's funny a Canadian's telling you to stick to your guns, guys.
Wow.
Go ahead, Marco.
No, all you, Ben, because I'll probably take a good hour on this. So.
We need to hear some of these quotes, by the way.
So I would say,
have you ever had your shit pushed in, Ben?
I was just gonna say King Kong ain't got shit on John, but good on you, Dean. Honestly, I was not actually excited to see this movie again. I remember seeing this movie at least 10 or 15 years ago, and I think I was too young at the time to get it. I don't think I remember liking it because I was of my age at the time. So I wasn't too excited to see it again, and wow, was I wrong. So I think one of the takeaways I had was Denzel, for sure. I do think this is Denzel's best role. And I think one of the reasons he was so good in it is because of how good of a manipulator he actually was. I mean, that whole movie, you saw him manipulate Ethan Hawke's character to do exactly what he wanted him to do. And that classic, narcissistic manipulator, aggressor type where the minute it started to not go Denzel's way, he got really aggressive and really scary. And then, you'd see the color drain out of people's faces, and he was perfect at being able to then turn it around and be like, oh, I'm just kidding, man, just joking, like, don't worry, oh, you're too late, and it was perfect because he was able to get exactly kind of, for the most part, all the way along what he wanted out of Ethan Hawke. And I felt like, and I mean, maybe I read too much into it, but I thought that there was a bit of a glimmer at one point in Denzel's kind of character arc where you see that he at one point kind of saw himself in Ethan Hawke originally. Like he that was maybe what he was like when he first started, but the whole movie he tried to convince Ethan that it was like, if you don't do these things, if you're not like me, then you'll fail or you'll die, Ben, or you won't last.
That's kind of what makes this movie infinitely rewatchable, because it's like, what is bullshit and what is him setting up Ethan Hawke versus what he actually believes, right? And I think there's like sprinkles of what he actually believes throughout all the shit that he says.
Exactly. And I think, Zach, that's why we got the ending of this movie that we did. I think that they wanted it to be left to interpretation. I think when Ethan Hawke walks away, I think the audience is left thinking, is he going to become ultimately like Denzel, or did he learn the lesson? Did he truly... Is he going to stay divergent from that position? Is he going to be able to maintain his true self and his true character and his true morality, right? They say power corrupts absolutely. And I think that there are a lot of people in the world and a lot of, police officers in the world and stuff that get a little bit of that power and they lose who they are. And that whole movie, we saw Denzel trying to push that out of Ethan Hawke, right? I mean, you can't be this way or you will die, period. And clearly that's not the case, because in the end, that still bit him in the ass. And every narcissist I've ever met can't accept that about themselves. They can't accept failure even when they failed. So when he's at the end of the movie yelling with a crowd of guys around him, basically like everything that he was yelling, basically just not accepting the position he was in.
24-hour lockdown. You will never see the light of day.
You're done, bud. You're done. But to him, he was unwilling to lose that power and that position, even if it killed him, right? And yes, I thought that was pretty powerful. So, yeah. So, anyways, I think at the end of the day, guys, it was a great watch. It's a movie that I almost want to watch again, because, like Marco was saying, I think it'll be one of those things that's kind of a character case study. And I like films where the bad guy, you can relate to him even to a point, even if you hate him. You know, the Joker is one of those villains for me, or Hannibal Lecter is one of those villains for me, right? Where they're scary, but because they're so smart and manipulative
Bro.
and likable.
If you're relating to Hannibal Lecter, man, we gotta talk.
That's what I sell.
No, but
it's my take.
No, that's awesome, Ben. Because actually, like, I do relate this Denzel character to the Joker in a lot of ways, in that like you are kind of rooting for him because just the performance is so powerful. So I will go back to something that Zach said about the tension. I use this movie kind of like as a benchmark. Like if movies don't give me the feels with the tension like this one, then it almost doesn't resonate with me, as much. Like I'll give another example because, superhero films are the only ones that I could really point to, right? Like Spider-Man Homecoming, when he's in the car with the Vulture, like that scene, that tension, just so brilliant. Like that type of stuff just sticks with me. So that's one of the reasons why this is, one of my favorite films. But Ben, like you, I saw it like a long time ago. My uncles took me to the theater, like I think on Thanksgiving, when I was way too young to watch it or to be seeing Eva Mendes titties on screen. But so I definitely that's that too. But so I definitely was like too young to appreciate like all the nuance of the film, but just like liked it because it was so badass, and obviously Denzel is just so great in it. But I think like it has so much to say about like the criminal justice system, like you said, like power corrupting, about like morally gray areas. There's a documentary that I really love. Well, it's depressing, but it's called Cartel Land, and it kind of talks about, the cartels in Mexico and kind of the bad guys become the good guys, and there's like, this kind of never ending cycle. And so it's just really interesting, all the nuances this tackles, because there are some like things that Denzel says that are kind of true, like to battle, this, this corruption at a high level, you kind of have to play the system. So I would just say, overall, just a phenomenal movie. Love so much about it. And the cinematography too, like just everything about how it's shot. Just Antoine Fuqua, I think, is the director. And I don't know like other movies that he's done that really lived up to this one for me, but and I know the guy who wrote it also directed Suicide Squad. So it seems like this was kind of like the pinnacle of movies that I've followed those people's careers. But there is another one that I think this team did that has Christian Bale in it, and I'm drawing a blank, but it was kind of like a sleeper hit as well. So yeah, overall, just a phenomenal movie in my book, and really every time I rewatch it, it's like, oh, it still actually lives up. Shockingly, after seeing a movie a long time ago, it's not always the case, but in this instance, it lives up to the hype for me.
Wow.
Was it a magic one, the Christian Bale one? You remember?
It's not. No. I think he plays a police officer, and let me look it up really quick.
I thought it was The Prestige.
I forgot even Terry Crews was in this movie, which when I saw him all jacked up, I was all excited. I was like, it's Terry Crews.
When he's flipping pigeons, is that it?
Dean, have we watched the movie Zero Dark 30 for Movie of the Week?
I don't think we have.
All right, my movie of the week choice is Zero Dark 30.
Damn,
John, just make sure you can watch it. Teach you some American history, my friend.
I hate war movies. It's okay.
It's not really a war movie. It's more a spy movie, actually.
Is that the one where they find
Bin Laden
Buddy in a cave?
Not in a cave. But that's what we're watching this week.
This guy plays the Ready Player One or whatever that game he's playing. That's it. Now he's fucking picking up mission movies. What's that game you're playing? Ready or Not?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there you go. No, no, that's not why. But yeah, it's a good movie.
I think it's on Netflix. I'll check.
Yeah.
So the movie I was referring to, sorry, Zach, to cut you off, but it's called Harsh Times. Eva Longoria, so the other equally hot Eva is in it. But just like not as good as this one, but a good little sleeper movie. Harsh Times.
Wow. Dean, let's say thank you to the people that keep the channel going.
Yeah. We want to shout out Sean Fear, Ian CB, Renee Mendez, Eric Mariscal, Quinn Aguirre, Lemur Hernandez, King Louis, Mark Pearson, Paul Schreiber, James Colley, Equan, Chris Valencerina, Ben Thomas, Chris Letty, David Jones, Sam Gist, Daminator, Joao Bretta, Sweet Danny Lee, Deanie Martin, Stephen Crett, Big Ol' Fern, King Zach, Caesar Mariquin, Mark Phillips, Lisa Martin Bomonsky, Rick DeGregorio, The Everyday Collector, Ricardo Valdez, Jose CZ, Erwin Azucena, The Illustrious Rainer, Aled Morgan, Tukothri Wah, Derek B., Carlos Saavedra, Matt Clevenger, Seth Tucker, CC3PO, Scott Smith, Don Wadon, Bo LeBoy, Jimmy James, Stephen Percha, Sean Usby, Scott Bradley, Big Peps, Stephen Maria Stanley, Eddie Manzanares, Louis Bennett, Chip Perrin, Jimmy Hernandez, Gigi the Judgmental, and Brenton Palmer.
Bunch of angels. Thank you guys for your support. If you want to join us on Patreon, get in on that group chat. There's the link there. Our April Patreon benefits is the network sticker sheet. Each one is an individual sticker. You can apply them all over wherever you want. Waterproof, dishwasher safe stickers, and the full-size Jumbo sticker. So obviously we love to Jumbo on this show, and finally get that in a sticker form. We also have going out this month for the top tier, the Dungeons and Dragons dice. So stay tuned for that if you're a top tier member. If you're international, we'll get a shipping quote for you. We'll cover you up to $5, and then the rest will be due by yourself. But if you're in the United States, we'll cover the $5 shipping. We also have Pog sets coming. Those are coming in May. We have them in hand, but don't want to blow our load with everything all at once. So stay tuned for that. They turned out really good. So big shout out to Ben. Actually, Ben, I think it's your first time on the show since we dropped these. What do you think about how they turned out?
Dude, I'm actually so excited that this actually, it was an idea I just kind of randomly threw out there on an After Dark, and the fact that it's come to fruition is super, super cool. So, I mean, Pogs were a huge thing for me as a kid, so I just love it. And as just an extra incentive, just for the members, like for me, it even like I'm on the shows and I'm like, I want to get the top tier. I want some Pogs.
There you go.
Very cool, man.
Yeah, definitely a great idea. And then we have the single pack Pogs, so people will get a random gold chase or the classic yellow and white logo. For Patreon, if you want to sign up, we have 3 tiers: the $5 Sweet Angel tier, the Certified Crispy $15 a month tier, which is the sticker sent straight to your door, and Figure Fix Assistance. We also have the $25 tier, which is the Pog set, which replaced the posters. And doubles of all the stickers we send, which is pretty great because they're pretty hard to come by and might be a bartering tool in the future. We already have some Patreonies trying to track down some of our old sticker sets. So there's that. Our YouTube channel members, we got Mojo Z78, OG Fan, Absolute Irwin, Beme, Test Jess 1, Mark Pearson, DK Avenger 702, Ben Thomas, OMFG Rick, Justin Rass, Mike Oxlong, Paul Schreiber, S Beam, Andrew Gibo, Andres IB, CC3PO, Daminator, Lemur, Sam Gist, and Carlito. If you guys want to become a channel member, click that link. I think we need like 4 or 5 channel members to unlock a new emoji, which I think is presumed to be the John emoji. So if you guys want that, be sure to sign up. We also have the benefits here. So 99 cents if you're a Patreon member. You get loyalty badges and access to the custom emojis, or $2.99 if you're not a Patreon member. You get member shoutouts every episode, either tier and the same badges and emojis. Here's a look at the network. We got CW Live, OFAC, Small Talk. We are doing a change with OFAC and Small Talk. So typically they would upload their episodes every Thursday, and then the following Thursday they would upload their audio. We're changing that. So in theory, they'll be going live Thursday nights, and hopefully by Monday you'll have the audio episode. We got some feedback that people wanted to listen to those a bit quicker on the audio platforms, so we're going to fast track those. We also have After Dark, Bricks and Brews, The Ringcast, Live Unboxing, Collectors Club, Pose Wars, and Live and Let Dice. Live and Let Dice is going to be off for the month of April for the most part, with Easter and everything coming up, and Max being on deployment. It was a bit difficult to get that sorted, but we will be... I think our next show... Dean, do you know the date of the next show? Or can you pull it up on Discord for me real quick?
Yeah. I'm on
Thank
Discord
you.
right now.
I will get that to you guys in a second. And we also have TeePublic, which if you want to buy some swag, you can do so there. Every shirt puts a few bucks into the network fund for equipment, etc. And you also get a cool shirt. John, can you read our socials for me, please?
Yeah,
It's the
definitely.
30th,
30th. Okay, thank you.
8 p.m.
Facebook, we got Collecting Weekly, our main page. We also have Collecting Weekly Auxiliary. You guys know I say it every week. That's the place to be. Instagram, we got @collectingweekly and @collectingweekly_clips for all the funny moments in our shows. I put one up yesterday from our unboxing, and hilarious is an understatement as to what that
It really
was.
was.
I don't think I've
I
laughed
was
that
in
hard
tears.
in months. But yeah, no, and we have at the _everyday_collector. Follow me there, guys. We're gonna kind of put all the information and statues and everything, even stuff from Collectors Club is gonna go up there. So you guys are gonna want to follow these social media platforms or pages or whatever you want to call them.
Definitely. Yeah. Shout out time. I actually want to give a really random shout out to Stonemeyer Games. They're the company that makes Wingspan. I totally fucked up and lost a part of my game. I don't know how, but I sent them an email and I was like, hey, I fucked this up on my own. Like, I was looking on eBay to buy a whole, like, it's part of the bird feed. You have to like build it from a flat piece of cardboard and it like pops out and you just assemble it. I was like, to buy it, it's like $20 from like third party sellers. I was like, I'd be willing to buy like a sheet if I need to, like, just let me know the cost. Happy to pay for it. Cause I really don't want to buy the full game again just for this one little piece. And like 2 days later they had a tracking number and they're like, nope, no problem. We replace these parts. Like, we want to really be like a high quality customer service type thing. So if you ever damage any of your cars or anything like that, just send us a message. We'll get a replacement sent out to you. So, that's really great because I've spent so much on that game with like Steam and iOS and all the expansions and everything like that. So the fact that they're willing to support the customer after the sale, I think is really great. So that's the only shout out I want to give. But if anyone has anything, or if Ben and Marco, you guys want to plug what you guys got going on, please feel free.
I'll just say a quick shout out to, of course, say it all the time, everyone listening. You guys gave everyone who gave super chats, everyone put a comment in the chat, and everyone who's been putting comments on the YouTube comment section and having conversations. You guys are awesome. Keep it up. Without you, the channel would be nothing. So just want to say thank you and appreciate it.
I'll just really quickly plug, Ben is quickly becoming the second co-host on our channel. So he stepped in this weekend when Gigi was out. We did an unboxing of the Marty McFly. So check that out if you haven't. And we're looking at setting up a conversation more about the Dark Knight Rises, the DX19, what other figures we want to see Hot Toys and Queen tackle. So likely this Thursday, and we're working on getting Dean the Dream on there. But yeah, I don't know. His asking price might be too high, so we'll see. We're trying to seal the deal there. And then when we're back from a hiatus, I will say we're going to have interviews. We're going to have John, Eddie, and Lael are kind of some of the first ones we have lined up here. So lots of content coming out on 16 Fix. Check it out.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tag in on John's shout out as well, just because, earlier when we were talking about why we stream, we talked, all of us talked about how much of a time investment it is to make the content. But being on the other side, trying to be somebody in the chats and be somebody that gets caught up on all the content and is always watching is a time investment as well. So everybody that's in the chat that is always here, night after night, I feel like I can go to any stream and talk to about 10 of these folks every time. So that's some serious time investment, and it's definitely appreciated. And my other shout out would be to you guys just for being cool with me joining the show. I know it takes some guts to be able to bring somebody into your show, especially when you guys have a good thing going. So thank you, because it's been super fun. In terms of,
for the record,
I know you did. I know.
He
but that's
actually
okay.
did. That's not a lie.
Sure, yeah.
I think I said fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. And John didn't want another
There's only
Canadian.
spot for one. Yeah, there's only spot for one real Canadian on this panel.
100%. 100%.
That spot's been full.
I'll leave the Timmy's outside. But
yeah, do you have a Timmy's cup under your desk?
I do have
No?
a Timmy's cup. I do.
Let me see
I
it.
just didn't pull it out. No, I tipped it over. No, it's cool. It's cool.
Oh, yeah, hate to see it.
No, I tipped it over. But then, yeah, so as Marco said, I'll be on 16 Fix a little bit this week, talking some Batman. And then on my own channel, The Ben Thomas Show, I'm just going to be continuing to release videos about my own figures and some of the experiences that I have with figures, some of the upcoming releases that are coming out, just kind of my take on it, and just having some fun with the channel. So tune into The Ben Thomas Show and 16 Fix and these guys, and keep coming, guys. It's fun. Thanks.
Yeah, Ben's going to be joining us more regularly on CW, so that's great. Definitely appreciate that. Does anyone else have any shout outs that they want to give?
Can I say one more? Because I see him in the chat now. I will be on Collectors Unite on Big Bretta's channel on Saturday morning. I think 8 o'clock my time. So looking forward to that one.
Yeah, shout out to Joao. Definitely a great guy. Supports the channel on Patreon. And yeah, definitely killing it with this content. Like, he's just, puts in a lot of work to get those day one reviews for us. And definitely appreciate it.
Well, and one last thing. I heard Loco Lou saying that he's only 1 point away from sweeping the top points from Fern in Pose Wars. So tune into that, because if he hits playoffs with Fern, I'm excited to see what's going to go down.
Wow.
100%.
Yeah, actually, after the show,
a lot of hot air over there.
We got to figure out how we do in playoffs, because we had a few people asking, and it's just changed a lot. So I'm just not really sure how we're going to do it. So hopefully we'll have an answer before the next Pose Wars. But if everyone's good, I think we're good to cut this one off. All right, I'm Zach.
I'm Dean.
I'm Jonathan.
I'm Marco.
And I'm Canadian Ben.
No,
it's his last show.
Wow.
Bye.